the political left who have quietly supported me, and I have appreciated that. And they're starting to come out and say, wait a second, this is harmful to children. Even though we know you're a Christian, we know you're a Republican, we want to stand with you. And I have appreciated that so much. And they've appreciated the fact that I'm willing to reach across the aisle and lock arms with them.
In one of her weekly editorials, Lori Higgins of Breakthrough Ideas points out that the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network is recruiting executives from major corporations. Here's AFN's Bob Kellogg.
Higgins reports that GLSEN has been slowly growing for many years, tenaciously devising ways of recruiting homosexuals, lesbians, and trans people in positions of power and influence in many major corporations.
And now we see the influence they had in Target, in this huge institution that stores everywhere and is now promoting homosexuality and trans cultism big time.
Higgins reports Target's Carlos Saavedra is the treasurer on the board of directors for GLSEN. Regardless of their corporate allies, though, she says GLSEN remains focused on public schools.
All their efforts are directed at public schools. So they want to use public schools to normalize leftist beliefs on the morality and nature of homosexual acts, homosexual relationships, and cross-dressing.
Higgins compares Target's current LGBT marketing campaign with the recent disastrous Bud Light campaign, which nearly ruined the company. I'm Bob Kellogg.
The National Hurricane Center says Tropical Storm Brett continues moving westward over the eastern Caribbean Sea, and weakening is forecast during the next couple of days. Brett is expected to dissipate over the central Caribbean Sea by Sunday. Tropical Storm Cindy is well to the east of Brett, but is headed in a west-northwesterly direction. Some additional strengthening is forecast over the next day or so, followed by gradual weakening. By the middle of next week, the weakened system will be well east of the Bahamas. New data released this week by the U.S. Census Bureau for Texas showed that at least since 2022, Hispanics make up the largest share of the state's population, according to the Texas Tribune. The new population figures show Hispanics made up 40.2% of the state's population last summer, edging out non-Hispanic white Texans, who made up 39.8%. For American Family News, I'm Robert Thornton.
Forget about Facebook.
The last 10 days we've been banned twice, and is unbanning a word?
They put us under the ban. Christians and conservatives
Don't need you, YouTube.
Banned one day, banned again.
AFR programs are now live streaming on the AFA streaming app. Now you can get shows like today's issues straight from the source.
Put back on the next.
just say unbanned.
Unbanned.
Just search AFA streaming or visit streaming.afa.net to sign up.
You know, as Christians, we have to understand and be real with where we are.
That's what we have to see first, individually.
And where our mindset is and what we desire.
Airing the Addisons.
I think what God is really calling us back to, it's those individual personal revivals in our own lives where we're like, oh Lord, what have we done? We have minimized you.
Promoting truth, wisdom, and empowerment.
As the church, man, we should be on the forefront of making disciples, of indoctrination and godly things.
If we don't train our kids, they will not be able to stand.
Airing the Addisons.
On American Family Radio, thank you so much for listening. I'm Miki.
And I'm Will.
And Sweet Victory and J-Mac are on tap to help us navigate the show. It's the Friday edition of the show. We call it the Gumbo Show because everything goes in the pot within reason. Gumbo has a lot of food diversity, but it's all good.
It's all good.
That sounds like I could direct that.
Yeah, it's
like
all
that.
good.
That could be like a position. It's like, so what do you do? Well, I serve as the director of food diversity for Gumbo Foods.
Yeah, but there are some
sounds
things
important,
you
doesn't
can't
it?
put in the pot, though. There's some things you cannot put in the pot.
Well, but if those things get a lawyer, then they can get in the pot because my job as the director of food diversity is to ensure that all of the items make it in.
Corn to get into the gumbo pot.
It depends who's representing. Like who corn hired? who Notice no verbs. Who corn hired, right? Or who has corn? Well, maybe there was a hired. It can be. It's an action. It's a thing that you do. Anyway, it just still sounds grammatically incorrect. Who did corn hire is the question. In New Orleans, we would say who corn hired.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
And
and
that would be right. That would be right. That would be okay. But yeah, that's the question. The question is not, can corn get in the pot? The question is, can corn be represented well enough that corn would be positioned as a victim, therefore deserving of the right to be in the gumbo? Is corn underrepresented as a vegetable? Is it a vegetable or is it a starch? Like, do we know?
Look, I don't know.
I don't know that we know. I know it's yum, though. I know corn is yum.
Yes.
Some butter, some salt, and some pepper.
There you go. That's all you
My
need.
goodness. So there you go. I would let hot dogs in the gumbo.
No.
I know you have a problem with that.
Not allowed.
But I grew up. I know we've talked about this before, but I'm going to hold on to this. Corn,
Not
no,
allowed.
because it's not a stew. It's not a succotash. It's not like it's not a whatever you would make it if you put corn in gumbo. I don't even know. I've never known anyone to do that. Do you know anybody who would do that? Like,
I don't. I mean, unless they just.
Is that an online question about gumbo putting corn? Is that something that you just found from a meme and you thought?
I just thought of something that you wouldn't put in there and like.
Okay, and so that's where that comes from. I got you. I got you.
I should have said wieners. You don't put that in there.
Look, that's meat. If it's meat, it's beef. It's meat. It can go in. It works.
No.
It's yum. I'm not mad at it, but nothing else. You know. Do you know that gumbo? I learned a while back, not growing up, strangely enough, but that gumbo means okra.
Yes.
Right? Like gumbo is okra, right? So what we do in New Orleans is we totally ignore what it actually is. Like It wasn't until I moved to Lafayette for school that I had okra gumbo, which is really okra.
It's like chai or chai tea.
Chai tea. I met with my sister in the Lord, and she said, chai means tea. So when you say chai tea, you're saying tea. And I was like, oh, is that so? So anyway, so I stopped saying that. That's how we continue to learn. We're always growing, right?
Yes.
So now I just say chai.
There you go.
It sounds strange because I don't know. I thought chai was a type of tea.
I did too, but see, you learn something new every day.
Every single day, but chai means tea.
Yes.
And so I did not know that. But it was funny though. And then shared it with the kids. And now it's actually a line. We haven't seen this movie, and nor am I advocating for it because I don't know what's in it. If we see it, we'll give a review. That's if we see it. But the Spider-Man animated movie is out, and there's a scene in the movie that he's talking to a guy who's from India. I don't know all the details, so forgive my ignorance here. But the scene, and the kids wanted me to see it because I drink chai, tea. They wanted me to see this scene, this clip where he says he orders a chai tea or something, and he's like, "It's not chai tea, it's just chai. Chai means tea. You don't order tea, like." And so anyway, that's one of those things where it's fun to learn, and when you learn it, you do better. And so I just order now. I feel pretty smart just ordering a chai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I will say this, I was in Aldi the other day, one of my favorite places to shop. I was in Aldi and I saw on the shelves there, which if you are an Aldi shopper, they create a fear of missing out, also known as FOMO, because they have these here for a short time type things, which I hate. I absolutely.
If you like it, then it's like
man, Aldi, if you listening, Aldi, hire me as the director of food diversity, and I will tell you, keep all items.
You make it sound
all
like
the time.
Aldi's a person.
Isn't that a name?
I don't know.
Sounds
where they
like
got
one.
I don't know where they got that name
Watch it
from.
mean something. Somebody's going to call in when we open the phone lines. It's Friday,
actually,
guys.
Aldi means
Aldi actually is German, and it also means tea. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. No, but I was at Aldi the other day, maybe a couple weeks ago, and I found a wonderful chai tea
Don't say that.
that you could just. I know, but here's the thing, though. We had a good laugh, the kids and I, because as I start, you can prepare it at home, and it's just you just add your own milk of choice, and then pour the chai in there, and then mix it num. And but the carton says organic chai tea, and the kids are like, "Why did they write chai tea on it?"
Oh man!
So they were like, "You can't trust it. It's probably not
Right.
organic." They're like, "If you don't know that chai means tea, then you
go.
probably are not, telling the truth about other things. So anyway, all right, welcome to the Friday.
Yes.
We're going to recap. And then also, I want to talk about the submersible. Like, that has been a conversation. Like, we had the...
See, that's new to me, too. That's something I learned. I never even heard of a submersible.
Because everything's a submarine, right?
Yeah, submersible. I didn't know what that was. Like, yeah.
I'm still not sure.
Every day.
I'm still not sure I completely understand, but the things that I've picked up by reading and watching is that, like, a submarine is designed in a way to, like, to maintain its position underwater, like deep sea underwater, to be on the ocean's floor for sustained periods of time. It's designed totally different from a submersible, which is designed to be able to explore, to go under for a short period of time, but it's got to come back up. Like, it can't just be under there hanging out. There's probably more to it than that. Secure enough to admit I don't know. So, but this story has fascinated me, especially because I, on Tuesday, I was talking about, talking about this with our big three and explaining to them that there were 5 individuals who, as we thought on Tuesday, were missing. Mm-hmm. We now know, we've got several clips I want to play for you because I think this is just incredible information that's come out. We now know that there are some reports, I guess I'm supposed to say allegedly, that the Navy knew that there was a loud noise, a loud boom on Sunday night that would have been consistent and came from the area where this submersible dropped down, that it would have been consistent with an implosion. And so the information was out and circulating that this submersible actually imploded on its descent and that it was known. And so for the last few days, when we've got the kids praying and, you know, talking about this 96-hour air supply or oxygen supply, whatever, you know, and like telling them, you know, by Thursday morning, you know, and all of this stuff and just, man, pray for these people. Now you read all the information and they knew on Sunday night that this thing had imploded.
Man, so why did it, I guess
that's the question. That's the question. And that's what, you know, that's what, and I want to say this lovingly.
Yeah.
That's what makes people crazy.
That's
because
what
you're like, why would you?
Skeptical about like.
Okay, see, that's a better word.
News and information like that you get. You know, sometimes when you get information from like smaller sites or sites that, you know, are, we say that's not well known. Some of those have more.
They have more truth
than the ones that are supposed to be the big names. And, you know, I just.
And then you don't talk about it, though. You don't talk about it
because you don't want to be seen as.
Right.
Tinfoil hat man.
Exactly.
You know?
Because you can't say you got the information from like Fox News or CNN or ABC or NBC. And because of that.
Lies.
Right. And so like, so when you go to T-Bone Media.
Right.
T-Bone Media is like, nah, they knew it imploded on Sunday night.
Go to
but
Roscoe
you can't
Press,
talk about Roscoe Press.
You find out the truth. You know, it's like, man. You know?
Roscoe's news outlet. Like you can't, you know, you can't talk about that because if you talk about that, people are like, I don't know. But it turns out that Roscoe and them actually had some intel and they knew what they were talking about. And this is the case. I'll tell you what's been surprising to me. Director James Cameron has been talking about this. I had no idea that the director of Titanic and Avatar and some other films, you know, whatever, but I know those are the big ones that people would recognize, that he was actually a legitimate, like, deep sea diver, like explorer, like had designed his own submersible and, you know, had explored the Titanic itself, the wreckage over 30 something times, that he is like truly an expert on this topic. I've watched several interviews that he's given. And I've been fascinated by the amount of information that he's had. And I wanted to share that with our listeners because I thought, you know, anybody who's been following this, who's been talking about it, the insight that he provides on why this submersible, this OceanGate submersible was not fit to be diving, I think is really, really sad. Like it really grieves me.
It is sad.
You know what I mean? For there to be that much information that's out and then for there to be, you know, people on this
it's like
sub,
rigged
you know,
up. I mean,
yes,
it makes it seem like it's not, you know.
I cannot believe, you know, and I've tried to reason why people would board a craft like this or whatever you like? Why people would?
But, I know some people love like the deep dive and stuff like that. Yes,
the curiosity, the explorer in all of us.
Curious.
Yeah.
That explorer is not in me. I don't know where he is. I had to find him.
That's what
he's in there somewhere, but tucked away.
Maybe under all that chai. That's what I explained to the kids, because when we first started talking about this, they were like, wait, why would people do this? And I was talking about the price tag, $250,000. And then you've got a father and son, $500,000 to get on this thing. And then on Father's Day, and James Cameron made this point. It's a great point. But I was trying to explain to them that, there is a curiosity that we have about the unknown. And I believe it's a God-given curiosity, right? I think this is a part of our desire to continue to know God. It's something that he has built in us, this desire to know, this desire to search and to explore. It's a part of God revealing himself to us, right? That there are things that are hidden that he reveals that we can search out. I think it's a part of his goodness to us. I really do. And so I don't have a problem at all with people exploring and doing things that I wouldn't do.
Go ahead, do that.
Yeah, there are things I wouldn't do. Like I wouldn't jump out of a plane. Like I'm just not going to do that.
People listening probably have, but
and praise the Lord that they're still listening. And so I just wouldn't do it, you know. What's the old preacher's joke? The Lord said, "And lo, I am with you always." So you go up high like that, he ain't promised to be up high with you always. Y'all have heard that before. I know you have. The first time I heard it was hilarious. Then the 21st time I was like, come on, y'all. That must circulate at pastors' conferences.
Funny to me.
It is still funny. It really is, especially in context. But yeah, so I don't have a problem with people exploring. I do, however, have a problem with people entrusting themselves to other people who, with the information that's coming out now, knew some things about what they designed, that it was faulty, knowing that it wasn't certified. It hadn't gone through all of the steps and all of the procedures.
That's something that they would get in there. That's something that they would get in there. They knew that it wasn't all on the up. That's amazing to me.
So, but the founder of OceanGate, of this company, he was in it.
That's amazing to me. So, there's no way he had to feel confident that.
I think so. I think so. And I'll tell you, and I know that there is not a whole lot. There are several things that, as I look at it, of course, this is from the outside and we'll be very careful. There's several things that I look at and I think they are comforting to me, because I was grieving, thinking of these people slowly preparing to die, and the kinds of things, and oh man, do they know the Lord? Just all these thoughts that go through your mind. Yeah. So knowing that they, instantaneously, the thing imploded, and that I feel like that's a little bit of a,
better,
but also knowing exactly that it wasn't sinister on the part of the founder, because my goodness, he was there as well, Yeah. We'll talk more about it on the other side of the break. Stay right there.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, author and seminar speaker with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, are we making any progress with a creationist view of the unborn?
Yes, it seems we are, Chris, although there's positive and negative steps being taken. More and more people are being educated on the personhood of the unborn child and the need to protect it. Even efforts to clone humans are helping in the sense that there's much scientific evidence now for the unique personhood of the fertilized egg. Unfortunately, this doesn't always carry the day with legislatures and judges, for they often rule that such a person has no individual rights and can be aborted. We yearn for a day when even the courts go back to Genesis for their thinking.
Thank you, Dr. John. For more information on the foundational principles set forth in Genesis, simply visit us on the web at www.icr.org. That's www.icr.org. This is Chris O'Brien. God bless.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE.
Telling Bibleless believers in Asia no, that's the hardest thing we do. This is Bible League International, and we've spent the last few weeks telling you about the incredible move of God in the region of Asia, the part of the world where Christianity is growing fastest, but as many as 9 of 10 new believers in countries like China, India, and Bangladesh have no access to the Bible. They cannot open the Bible and be reminded of God's precious promises. Hey, we've told you about Shanti Varden in India. Born blind, wanted to end his life, but God brought him to saving faith. He's led hundreds to Jesus. They need Bibles in India. And Katsu, nearly beaten to death by his interrogator, but he led that man to Jesus, and together they've witnessed thousands coming to Christ just outside of Beijing. AFR listeners, you have blessed 12,000 Bibleless believers in Asia. Our goal is 16,000. We're still short. We need to wrap up June 25th, so at $5 a Bible, $100 sends 20. Pray about it and then call 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD. 800-YES-WORD, or give it sendbiblesnow.org. Sendbiblesnow.org. And God bless you for caring.
This is the God that I serve. This is the God that I serve. This is the God that I serve. Yeah, this is the God that I serve. Yeah, this is the God that I serve. Some of you people got nerve. It ain't the God that you preaching about in the church. My God give you what you deserve. He don't be playing them games. We are not serving the same. You made up a God in your brain. I serve the God when he done with this serve. Nothing left of this place but a stain. Listen, you gonna see when he touch down. He's sending his son for the cut down. Everybody and their mama getting uptowns. You ain't born again.
Welcome back to Aaron the Addisons on American Family Radio. Appreciate you listening. I'm Miki.
And I'm Will, and that's Tyson James with The God I Serve.
All right, we were talking about the submersible and talking about what happened, and it's been so interesting, and we'll go back to the content here. I want to play a couple of video clips. If you're watching the live stream, you can watch the video clips, but you'll also be able to hear it here.
Yes.
Before we do that, though, we've got a new...
Oh, boy. The adventures we have. Well, first, let me say this. You know, you can still register for the AFA at the Ark. If you want to join us, I know we have the Marriage Family Life Conference coming up. Man, it's like right here.
Yes.
But we also have AFA at the Ark that will be happening in October. If you can't make a Marriage Family Life, there's a limited space, though, for the AFA at the Ark, but it's still open registration. If you go to marriagefamilylife.net, marriagefamilylife.net, and click on the events tab, you can get all the information there. So if you want to join us for that, all information is there. The Ark Encounter is an amazing place, and if you want to join us, we'll go together, and so it'll be fun. But as you were alluding to, we have adventures that we travel a lot, so we have these adventures, and we try to document them. We have a family, I guess, behind the scenes type channel called Whatever You Do. And so we just put a new video up. Every Friday we have a video that comes up. And this one is the iPhone, what is called iPhone roller coaster fail.
Man, so our listeners, like, I think these things happen because for your benefit, for your amusement. Mariah has put together a video capturing one of our kids' attempt to record us on a roller coaster.
Yes.
With the phone.
Yes.
And the crazy thing, is like right before I was like, no, just give me the phone. I'm gonna hold on to the phone. And this particular kid was like, no, I promise I can do it. And why do kids always promise? As if that increases your confidence. But anyway, so famous last words, I promise, and then, or like, and then
So you can
You'll
check
just
it
have
out.
to see what happened.
Can
I say what happened or no? Do I? Would I ruin
no,
it?
people can check it out so they can see who dropped it and what happened. And,
well, now you just said it.
Well, but they don't know who. They don't know
that's
who.
true. Or what happened as a result. I had no idea there's so much protocol.
Yes. Would you have to? Yeah.
Anyway, just go check it out. It's funny, and and I'm glad that everything, turned out well, so to speak. I mean, for us.
It worked out. It
worked out for us, but for everybody else after us, I feel like they were,
I think when people see the roller coaster, they'll be like, "Oh, it could have been worse."
I wouldn't have been
could
on
have been
it,
at
maybe.
Universal somewhere. But anyway.
Anyway. But that would have definitely been a no for me.
If you want to check it out, it's whatever you do _8.
Yeah.
To see that video, to check out the channel.
You'll appreciate it. Whatever you're.
It's all in fun.
Yeah. Whatever your week brought you, it can't be worse than that. So there you go. So we're talking about this submersible. This has been the topic of conversation pretty much the entire week. I know for us and for the big three, when I told them about this news story and just I asked them to pray, and we're talking about the search and all of this stuff, and our Gabby, who tends to be real all these kinds of things make her really anxious, and so she was like, is there any word? Has there been any update? And then yesterday I told them, well, they haven't found it, and it was supposed to be like Thursday morning, and then the information started coming out that the had imploded and that they found debris and all of this. And director James Cameron, who I didn't know was an expert, has been kind of making the rounds, if you will, and sharing just a lot of information that certainly we all didn't know at the beginning of the week, but I think it's really crazy. And I, at the same time, somewhat fascinating. James Cameron, who is an expert diver, also designed his own submersible, which that must be nice, that must be nice to just design your own, but he was talking about the problems with the design of this particular submersible that he felt like it was sort of a disaster just waiting to happen. And I got a series of clips here that I think are so important for people to hear and to understand. But let's start with the first one. This is cut one.
There was a lot of concern about this outfit and this sub. A lot of concern, even to the extent that I wasn't involved in it because I was making Avatar 2 at the time, but a lot of them got together and wrote a letter to OceanGate and said, you have to certify. You cannot take people down. It's irresponsible, and it could lead to catastrophe.
That is so eerie to me, right? Like you think about that you're on this vehicle that is not certified. Like, I mean, you think about like the basic things that you want certified. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that they're not even that serious.
That would be one. I mean,
yeah, you want to know that it's been tested, that it's been proven that it can actually do what it's claiming to be able to do. But James Cameron, as an expert on this, talks about the ways that this thing, I guess, lacked the integrity to do what it was promoted as doing. I mean, and certainly, you're going to charge people $250,000 and you can't, like, how much more is it to certify the piece of equipment? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like people say, well, do you want tinted windows or no? Well, I mean, that's an option.
For me to understand this because the guy was on there with them. So I feel like maybe there's some missing, maybe some more stuff. I don't know, because all these red flags, it's like, why would, if he knew this and he got on, like, it's just.
So that's a great point. So James Cameron actually provided, I think, a lot of insight, probably more than what I've heard come from anybody else. As an expert, as one who does this, has made so many dives and understands the way that a submersible has to be designed and the type of the type of oh my goodness, what do you call it? The material that has to be used to design a vessel that can withstand the pressure and the weight of going underwater. I think he provides a lot of insight. So let's kind of work our way up to it, because he's going to, through the series of clips that we play, explain why this which I think will answer your question, why the founder of OceanGate, why he would have been on this particular submersible, just really having a lot of confidence in his design. And I'm going to say this, and you may hear it again, but when you have the thing go underwater and carry out a few dives successfully, it created, obviously, looking at the result here, a false sense of security. But I think James Cameron does a great job of providing insight. So this is clip 2.
Monday morning when I first found out about the incident, got on a whole bunch of calls and emails. It's a small community. Within an hour and a half, I had the following information. They were on descent. They were at 3,500 feet. They lost comms and tracking. The last one being the critical one, because the transponder that's used to track a sub during descent and on the bottom is a fully autonomous system. It's in its own pressure housing, and it has its own battery power. So for them to lose comms and tracking at the same time, sub was gone. There was no question in my mind. For days, I tried to run other scenarios that could account for it. I could come up with nothing.
That information, and it just makes sense that if you've got all of the means of contact go at once, it would have to be like a sudden demise, right? Like a sudden destruction, which makes sense. Even if I don't understand all of the inner workings of like a submersible, I would understand that if you suddenly lose all contact, all of your backup means, you've got a separate battery pack for this. And then also, and I don't know if we grab this particular clip, but just hearing, and there was another gentleman that I think was ABC News interviewing alongside James Cameron. And this man was the first, I think he did the first dive down to the actual Titanic wreckage. And he was talking about there's some reports out there, and which probably as time goes on, these things will likely be confirmed, that as they were descending, as they were going down into the water, that they started to release their weights. And the thing that's chilling about that is there is the belief that they started to release the weights because of what they call acoustic monitoring, meaning that they started to hear the sound of the submersible giving way to the weight of the water. So whereas once I was thinking, okay, well, man, this is so tragic, but if there was a sudden implosion and, then at least these people didn't suffer. I think if what these men are suggesting, if that's true, that they started to hear like the crackling, the acoustic sound of the pressure of the water on the submersible, then I think that is suffering. I think knowing, hey, something's going on, the dad and his son, and I mean, all of their lives, you know what I mean? But then not being able to get back. I mean, anyway, they were like an hour and 45 minutes into the dive. Like anyway, blows my mind, but there's more information and I want to make sure that our listeners hear it. And ultimately the last clip I want to play, of course, I think through, when you have current events like that, are there spiritual implications? Like, are there spiritual lessons that can be drawn from this? And what's really interesting is that, again, director James Cameron, which I didn't think I'd say his name so much in my life, makes a great point that I think leads to a lesson to be drawn from this, which is very interesting. And I'll save that for the last clip. But he says that that the Navy and that they have these what do you call it? Hydra horns or something, hydrophones or something like that in the water, all across the Atlantic, that pick up sound in the water. And he says that the U.S. Navy is monitoring those. And on Sunday night, at the time that they lost contact with the submersible, they heard the loud bang. They heard a noise. So again, the question is, why do we have days of this? Like
putting the nation in the world
and saying,
through
oh, we heard a banging. And this, to me, that's very cruel. It's cruel to the family first. But then to everybody around the world paying attention to this, it is also cruel. But this is James Cameron talking about it. This is clip 3.
We got confirmation within an hour that there had been a loud bang at the same time that the sub that comms were lost. A loud bang on the hydrophones, loss of transducer or transponder, loss of comms. I knew what happened. Sub imploded. I sent emails to everybody I know. I said, we've lost some friends. The sub has imploded. It's on the bottom in pieces right now. I sent that out Monday morning. I never believed in that technology of wound carbon fiber, wound filament, cylindrical hull. I thought it was a horrible idea. I wish I'd spoken up, but I assumed somebody was smarter than me, because I'd never experimented with that technology, but it just sounded bad on its face because we make pressure hulls out of contiguous material, steel, titanium, ceramic, acrylic. And so you can model it, you can do finite element analysis of it. And, you understand the yield properties, you understand the number of cycles that it can take. But you can't do that with a composite material because it's two dissimilar materials, sort of bonded together. And so we all knew that the danger was delamination and progressive failure over time with microscopic water ingress and fatigue, what they call cycling fatigue. And we knew that if the sub passed its pressure test, it wasn't going to fail on the first dive. It might fail on dive 7, or I don't know what they're at, but it's going to fail over time, which is insidious. You don't get that with steel or with titanium.
Man, so that's the answer to your question. Yeah. Why was the founder of OceanGate on this submersible? Because
other dives
and they were successful. And man, I'm telling you, there's so many spiritual lessons in what James Cameron said in that clip. But then the ultimate one is the one we're going to play here in just a second. But as I was listening to him, as I was watching him give this interview, and just thinking about, how he, as a diver, as an explorer, as one who designed a submersible, knowing what you need to do that, and knowing that this OceanGate, vehicle didn't have those things, wasn't made of that type of material, couldn't withstand the pressure of the water. And then the use of the word insidious, you know how I feel about that, right? Yeah. Like just kind of like, it's just a matter of time, just lying in wait. Like it's just a matter of time. And it's over several dives that the composite material, you think of like pressed particle wood versus like real wood. I mean, but then you think of like taking something that's composite material, something that is a combination, something put together, and then thinking that it's going to withstand the pressure of the water. I don't know. Everybody wants to be an expert after the fact, but well, not everybody, because James Cameron and a lot of his cohorts said that it's unwise. Yeah. And what's interesting to me is that James Cameron says, I wish I had spoken up. I'm just comparing different interviews. I saw him give another interview where he said there was a different individual who had a submersible that he told the man straight out, if you take that down, you will die in it. That it's not suited for deep sea diving, that it's not made of the proper material. And he said the man heeded him and didn't do it. He actually listened to him and he didn't do it. But with this, he thought, well, maybe they probably know something that I don't know. On the surface, I think it's unwise, but maybe they know something. Boy, I can't help but think of the spiritual implications behind that, We'll grab the break. Aaron the Addisons, stay right there.
Prior to birth, children need our help. Read A Pastor's Notes. God Calls the Church to Stand Boldly for Life by Pastor Joseph Parker.
We are called this day to stand for the innocent and speak out on their behalf.
This collection of essays by Pastor Joseph challenges us to take a public stand to protect the lives of the unborn. A Pastor's Notes is available now at resources.afa.net.
The body of Jesus Christ must speak up.
Hi, this is Todd Nettleton with the Voice of the Martyrs Radio, inviting you to the Hearts of Fire virtual event on July 14th. This is a one-of-a-kind virtual event that highlights stories from persecuted Christians around the world. This event will benefit the global body of Christ and inspire you in your own walk of faith. Hear from 4 persecuted Christians, plus join in worship along with Michael W. Smith. To register as an individual or host this event at your church, visit heartsevent.com.
Hi, I'm Miki.
And I'm Will.
And we'd like you to join us for an all-inclusive event we call AFA at the Ark.
first annual?
Who knows? It's certainly the first time anyway. It's a mini conference, and you could potentially stay with us in the same hotel, ride with us on the same bus, eat with us in the same dining room.
Help us keep track of our kids.
That could be very helpful. The event is October 26th and 27th, and we'll tour together, worship together, have panel discussions with our family and Wesley and Walker Wildman's families. We'll even have a special presentation by Ken Ham, CEO of Answers in Genesis.
The Marriott Cincinnati Airport Hotel has blocked a limited number of rooms for us at a discounted rate, with several meals included. You can register, book your room, and learn more at marriagefamilylife.net.
That's marriagefamilylife.net. And we hope to meet you at the first ever AFA at the Ark. I hope to see you there.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tim Wildman, president of American Family Association and American Family Radio. Hey, we've set our dates for the 2024 tour to Israel, and you can read about that at twholyland.com. That's twholyland.com. We've got the dates, we've got the cost, we've got the itinerary, everything you want to know there, including a bunch of pictures you can look at. Just go to the website, twholyland.com. Folks, we're going to visit the land of the Bible, and it's to be my 30th time to go. I'm just so excited every time to see the faces light up as people see Jerusalem and Bethlehem and Jericho and take a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee and get baptized in the Jordan River. It's just a wonderful time in Israel, the Holy Land. So if you want to join us on our trip in March, go to the website twholyland.com, twholyland.com, and check it out.
There's a world full of mercy and peace, waiting for me. There's a land for the lost and the least, where they dine with the King, waiting for me. Yeah, His holiness fills up the temple. Still He took my sin and my shame. I didn't deserve to be rescued. Still He has called me by name. I'll stand firm with God.
Welcome back to Aaron the Addisons on American Family Radio. Appreciate you listening. I'm Miki.
And I'm Will, and that's Terrion with Stayed on Him.
When I was thinking about just during this break how much I'm really loosening up, just like as a mom and just as a person. And what I mean by that is that, so we've entrusted the care of this YouTube channel to our 16-year-old and you, right? Like that's you guys, you oversee and make sure. And I was thinking about how when she first started, I wanted to see all the videos before they were posted, and I wanted to comb through them and just and then I realized that I was really stifling her creativity, and so I've backed off. And I was thinking, man, we just talked about a video that she's posted, and I haven't seen the video. Like, I started trying to watch it, and then I ran out of time because it was time for us to start the program. But she just said, "Oh, the video's posted," and so I'm thinking, wow. I'm a good mama. I'm a good mama. But if suddenly the video's unavailable, just know I'm an even better mama than you thought, because I'm taking it down. No, it's all good. But I did think about that during the break. I'm like, man, we're telling people, go watch this video.
I've seen it. It's good.
Okay,
it's not
hold
the same?
on a second.
What?
No, it's not. And let me tell you why. Every mom listening knows exactly what I'm about to say, because when we take family pictures, when we're, we're out somewhere and we take a picture, the dad is like, "Oh, that's great." And the mom's like, "Let me see it. Let me see it."
Man,
because
y'all want to take 10,000 pictures.
Yes, we do.
It's like, man, come on. We just need.
Yes, because there's
a single.
There's a single chin angle. There's a double chin angle. And I feel like dads never see it. They're always just like, "Oh, that's great." Yeah. And you're like, my hand is cut off.
I'm just looking, everybody's eyes are open, and
That's not the measure of greatness. That's not the measure of greatness. Anyway, we've come such a long way from waiting to go down to Walgreens and get those pictures developed then find.
And look, I remember Polaroid.
Yeah, I mean, truly, but that was a little better.
Had to wave it.
That was a little. That's classic now. Actually, Gabby has like the new Polaroid camera. It's one of those. Yeah, she got it as a Christmas gift a few years back. But anyway, to her, that's like, wow. But, whatever. For us, that's technology. Okay, so we're talking about the submersible. I do want to open the phone lines. I'm kind of curious to know what our listeners think about, if they've been following it, if they had any thoughts about the submersible. Did they find this as, tragic as we have found it, and how they're, engaging with this kind of information is one of those current events that you just go, man, it's such a tragedy that didn't have to happen. I'll give the number, 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Before we go to the phone lines, though, I just want, before we go to the phone lines, I want to play one more clip. And the other clips that you heard came from the Daily Mail in their conversation with James Cameron. And I forget this outlet where I found this one, but this is a different outlet. And he says something in this interview that he hadn't said in the other interviews that I'd seen. And I thought, man, it's so tragic, but there are such, spiritual implications. And I don't even know if James Cameron understands the spiritual implications. Probably not, he's just thinking like, it's so eerie, but I think there's a lesson in this. If we would listen. Okay, let's play. This is cut 4.
And by the way, it's not lost on me as somebody who's studied the meaning of Titanic. It's greater meaning to us, historically and societally, that it's about warnings that were ignored. That ship's lying at the bottom of the ocean, not because of the nature of its steel or the nature of its compartments, but just because of bad seamanship. The captain was warned. There were icebergs ahead. It was a moonless night, and he plowed ahead for whatever reason. I think there was some greed. There was some glory in it. He had to boot up his rear from J. Bruce Ismay to get into New York on time or early, so they'd have a headline, which I show in the film. And here we are again, and at the same place.
Catch that? Did you catch that? So he's talking about the Titanic wreckage, and he's talking about this OceanGate submersible, that they are in the same place for the same reason, and it was that they ignored warnings. Man, like if you cannot grab from that the spiritual implication, like this, I guess there is a, and he didn't use this word, but what I hear in it is like there's a hubris that, no, I can do it. No, it's going to be okay. And there's a warning that is issued. And as I was listening to that, look, I'm not trying to be oversaved, okay? But I cannot help but think about the gospel, right? I can't help but think about like, man, that's what we do. We warn people. And then we use things like the flood. We say God judges sin, and there is another judgment coming. This is what the Apostle Peter did in his second letter, right? And he's warning, and he's saying that there's scoffers. You know what I mean? That the scoffers are going to come, and they're going to be like, hey, where's the day that you guys been talking about? It's been a long time, And he uses the warning from the flood, and he says, in the same way that water was held up, he says, now there's fire stored up. I don't know if people research. There's like a ring of fire, you know what I mean? Like that people are constantly watching and monitoring. But I thought about what James Cameron was actually saying. And he says, it's not lost on me. And I just think, okay, but man, is there something that is lost on you? Like the understanding of like stop it. No, I'm not preaching. I'm just,
look,
it wouldn't sound like that. That's not how it would sound. It would be like, oh, but. Listen, you just ruined the sobriety of this moment. I can't believe it's okay.
No,
it's
but
totally
you're right.
fine.
There's a lot in that. And man, I don't know, like you, I don't know if he really realized. I don't know his background. I'm not sure. I don't really know who,
Yeah,
but
I don't know
what
much
he's
about
saying
him.
is a lot. And I think you can definitely see, man, the implications of not heeding warnings, being arrogant, like just all types of things, man.
And so, I would say with the information that I've discovered, like even when we talked to our kids about it yesterday and they would just, just the collective gasp of like, oh, it imploded, like, oh my goodness. And just, but now with this information, I think there's a different conversation that I want to have with them about this and about the sobriety of heeding warnings and about wisdom, right? And my goodness, the Lord has provided for us a warning, right? That we don't have to be destroyed. If we would humble ourselves, because ignoring the warnings, right, is a clear indication of pride. It's the same thing in the presentation of the gospel, like ignoring the warnings, ignoring the call, like hardening our hearts when the Lord calls, when the Lord allows for us to hear the presentation of the gospel. These things are the types of warnings that people don't realize in the moment they're ignoring them. But man, there is a day of reckoning that is coming, that our pride and our ignoring the warnings kind of comes to bear, will come to bear. And I just thought, Cameron's words there were instructive in ways that I think he does not even realize. Let's go to the phone lines. 888-589-8840. Will the Great, where are we going?
Let's go to Scott in Texas. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Will and Mickey.
Hello.
Hi, I was just wanting to say, I don't know if anybody realized it, but I don't think that the builder of the sub chose the best name for it. Because if you think about it, the word Titan is a derivative of Titanic.
Yeah.
And they both ended up in the same catastrophic fate at the bottom of the ocean in the same place.
Yeah, you're right.
Man. Yeah. And now, as Cameron pointed out, for the same reason, like ignoring warnings and just going ahead and doing what you think is best in your own eyes. Right. What you think is best, ignoring warnings, just doing what you think is best in your own eyes. My goodness, there are so many lessons in this. And I'm not one to say that, we need to draw from what's happening in the culture and then preach. But I do think we can start with where we can see where we are, and we can pull in. I mean, the Apostle Paul did this, and this is one of those moments where I don't think there could be, and excuse the expression, a better setup than what James Cameron said, that it's not lost on him that, the reason that both of these vehicles are at the bottom of the ocean is because of pride. Yeah. It's because of ignoring warnings. It's so chilling to me to think about that. Will the Great, where do we go next?
All right, let's go to Crystal in Arkansas. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Will and Mickey.
Hello.
I'm a first-time caller to AFR. What a blessing to be able to be on the show with you guys. And I just wanted to say that when you said that about just that spiritual weight that Cameron had said that he should have said something but he didn't. It was just heavy on my chest, and it's just a reminder, gosh, that we have a responsibility as Christians in this world to stand up in the light and say the right thing and do the right thing man. Yeah. I just appreciate y'all saying that and just sharing that conviction of, what Cameron expressed and how that related to you or how you took all that in and were able to share that with all of us. Just thank you for that. And wow, what a great reminder.
Oh, God bless you, Crystal. Thank you for the tenderness of your heart too. Like, I think that should be the posture of all of our hearts, that because one of the things that Cameron said was that, I should have said something, but he said, I thought, man, someone's smarter than me. Maybe they know something that I don't know, but he knew what was sufficient to warn. Yeah. Right. And I think that's sometimes what we see when we see people who are just in their sin and they seem to be enjoying themselves. We can convince ourselves, well, I mean, I guess they know and they've just rejected him. And maybe in some instances that's true. But in other instances, they don't know. God. They need to be warned. They need someone to risk appearing to be foolish to warn them. Right. And so we will be fools for the sake of the gospel. Right. Like we will tell the truth about who Jesus is, even when people are like, and they flap their hands at us. But can you imagine if James Cameron had said to the OceanGate, and his name escapes me at this moment, but the Stockton. Yes, that's it. Mm-hmm. If he had said to the OceanGate founder what he said to this other billionaire who purchased a submarine or a submersible, and he said to him outright, if you take that thing underwater, you will die there. You will die there. And he was so emphatic and he was so certain it was sufficient enough to warn this particular diver not to do it. So can you imagine if he had been that emphatic? And now, please, no one ever, okay, not for a second, hear me blaming James Cameron. I'm only using this for illustrative purposes to say we've been given a message that we should declare with emphasis. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's heavy. I mean, when you think about it and the implications of what the message we have, you know, to a dying world.
Yeah.
I mean, we know where they are going if they don't repent.
It's life or death.
It's life or death. And it's like, man, that's,
Anyway, but let's go back to the phone lines, Will the Great. Where do we head to next?
All right, let's go to Roy in North Carolina. Hi, Roy.
Hi, how you all doing? God bless you all.
God bless
Hello.
you. I'm a first-time caller, too.
Thank you.
And you're perfectly welcome. And with my limited study, and I won't go in depth in what the exact studying that I did and whom I was employed by. But I think if we look up the definition of implosion versus explosion, that's going to help us tremendously, because there's something even when you're flying in a commercial aircraft, there's outside pressure warring against inside pressure, and it's called a cabinet pressure. Okay. These pressures have to be offset and balanced, and I think that if we look up the definition of, and I'm visually impaired, but if we look up the definition of implosion versus explosion, then we're going to somewhat get a greater idea and a feel for actually what happened to these folks. And on the spiritual side of the house, I'm glad you went ahead and mentioned that you wasn't holding that Cameron, blaming him for it.
Oh, no, not at all.
Because there's warning labels on every chemical that we have in our homes. And sometimes we don't even look at those, you know. We can issue the warning, and then some other people say, well, I haven't used that product before or something similar. So I'm going to skip that warning and caution label, you know. But certainly, you know, I think that the implosion and explosion is maybe on the break if you all could look up those two definitions.
Well, let me just say this because we only got about 30 seconds. So my understanding is that the implosion is that the weight of the water crushed the submersible versus an explosion that it would have expanded from inside and then exploded as we traditionally understand the definition of explosion.
Thank you.
If I'm wrong about that, somebody can write me an email and correct me. We're out of time, though. Until Monday, Lord willing.